up, Sam?
Hey, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. I'm loving this.
Hey,
I'm just
are
sitting here
you
listening
making
to everything.
are you making some of the camp out, Sam? Are you going in I think Sue
Yeah.
and I are going in June and July. Are you going to any of those?
Yeah, I'm going to the one in June.
Woo.
Yeah.
Is that Whistle Creek or something? Is that?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh,
that's the
cool.
one
Yeah,
I'll be
we'll
at.
be there. We'll be there.
Yeah, I'm
I'll give you
excited.
my autograph. I'll give you my autograph one.
Hey, I'll be there as well. I'll get a chance to meet you.
Yeah, I'm
Sandy,
excited,
Sandy
man.
and I will be there. So I'll
Awesome.
get a chance. I mean, maybe not for the whole week, but we'll be there for a few days at least.
Yeah, awesome. No, listening to all this is getting me real excited too. I'm gonna get Brian to autograph my poster that I have of him above my bed.
Oh, you got one too?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
That was back when he was a rock star.
I'll bring you one of my. I'll bring you. You had a. Did you have a Kindle version of my book? Because I'll bring you an actual book if you want.
Yeah, I need it. The Kindle version is just it's confusing.
Yeah, you know what? I had to just to get off on a tangent here for just a second. I had to actually hire somebody to completely reformat my book because the Kindle version is completely screwed up. It's just like it looks ridiculous, and
it's like a puzzle.
Yeah, it's like a puzzle, and so I had to put out some pretty good money to get them to reformat it. I mean, and even yours, Kevin, is probably a little bit haywire, but anyway, so that's. I'll bring you one when I see you in June.
All right, that's good. Autograph.
Kind of nice to have a physical book in your hand, right? I mean, I'm old school, but that's what I like.
I like it too.
Bring one for me too, please, if you could.
Oh, you gonna be there?
Yes.
Absolutely. Well, I'll bring a few then.
Cool.
Bring a few then.
Who is that? Is that Kelly Rainbow Butterfly? That's the one?
Who?
Who's going to host that?
No, that's the Barb and Goldie campout. They have a bunch of them
Bob
every
and
year.
Okay.
We're talking about grassroots stuff here.
Well, pretty soon they're going to have to
right
get
to the heart of the
They're
matter.
going to have to get a stadium to have the conference in.
No, they do stuff kind of like I do. It's just all organic and whatever, and just a bunch of people gather in to experience Sasquatch and they're loving whatever. I kind of like that basic stuff.
There's a funny story. Hopefully I tell it correctly, but this was a Greenwater camp out a few years back, and a lot of activity was going on. We also had, it was when Goldie was a puppy and there were other puppies running around, a lot of puppies running around. And some people had moved in who were not part of our group, and they kind of moved in kind of close to our group. And we had already had like a pretty fair amount of Sasquatch activity around camp. So Barb went to just kind of, I don't know, like give him a heads up, but she also didn't want to give him a heads up or anything. So, but she told him, she was like, okay, well, just to warn you guys, we've got a lot of puppies and we might be playing some drums. And it's like, they looked at her like, okay, what's so dangerous about that? Or what's so scary about that? But then, the reality of it is that there's a bunch of puppies running around. We're playing drums and, Sasquatch with 23-inch prints hanging out as well.
So, if you want to be polite and get rid of people just because sometimes bad energy will keep the Sasquatch away, you can just say that, well, there's a bunch of Sasquatch hanging around here. And a lot of people will just leave immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. So healing, you're talking about healing, Ashley.
Yeah.
You want to talk about healing on a personal level and maybe or on some experiences where you've seen them do their loving intentions and healing with other people that you've camped with? And you don't have to name names, obviously, because it could be personal, but
sure.
You want to talk about healing a little bit?
Definitely at camp. We will have members of our group who have like a physical ailment, a bad knee, a bad back, a bad shoulder. They're about to go in for surgery, something physical, and they will have experiences while laying in their beds conscious. And, I think we've all felt whatever it is that they can do vibratory towards us onto our physical bodies, they do something in a scan type fashion, in a concentrated type fashion of an energetic source that's being introduced into the body. And it's being done so for positive gain, right? Because the people are coming out in the morning saying, hey, my shoulder doesn't hurt anymore. Wow, the pain is gone in my knee. I don't know what happened, but like my back is better. But I did get touched by a Sasquatch last night. Definitely had some, vibrations happening on my back, and now my back's better. So there's like, and how great, right? Like it's not necessarily like, oh, I had this huge emotional beauty, like I'm a different person because I've had this healing. But even just like, oh, you have a sprained ankle, let me help out with that. Boop, we can take care of that. That's and then it does go up to that spectrum of pure, full emotional release, and they're helping facilitate and hold space for you in that moment. And how many people have experienced that? So many. Almost everyone. If you actually get it, right? If you are doing things correctly with them and having respectful communication and connection, then this is part of the process, right?
Hallelujah.
And they do help facilitate.
Yeah, I just want to say a couple quick things. I've experienced that scan thing. I experienced it coming up from the bottom of my feet all the way up my body, and I was really fatigued that day, and I practically ran up a mountain after that. It was like incredible, and it's so dramatic. You can actually feel it like a scan going up you.
Yeah.
Another thing, you remember Coastal Chick, Mr. Beans?
I do. She was great. She's still around. We'll still see little messages from her once in a while.
Yeah, we experienced. She got a healing
She's out of of internet where she lives.
We experienced. We were at one of my campouts, one of the RV campouts, and she was just about ready to go home. She was in such pain. She didn't tell anybody. But as we were all sitting around the fire pit that night, she had one of those full body scans or whatever, and she was just like, "Oh my God, I can't believe it! I can't believe that." She was like really animated, and we all watched RE and the clan take her pain completely away. She was going to leave actually, so they did a healing right in front of us all, and it's pretty cool. So
yeah,
it's a real thing, and it's not that uncommon.
Spiritually too.
I wanted to champion what you said about emotional release work. I teach emotional release work. I've got a group of like 6,000 people. And one of the most powerful, transformative things you can do is go to the woods and scream your guts out until there's nothing left. Your whole reality will change. And that's what the Sasquatch are complete compatible with that. They know exactly what, as soon as you go there and you're being authentic and real and letting it out, they know exactly what that is. So, that's part of the mix, and it should be considered as part of the mix, because we live in an extraordinarily perverted, suppressive reality. You know what I mean? We're supposed to be like little quiet sheep, to be seen and not heard as adults.
But John Lennon was doing that in the 1970s, wasn't he? That some kind of screaming thing.
Yeah, and it's an odd thing that whole primal scream movement thing got squashed by the what do you call it, the mainstream psychological people. It got squashed, and it was just really too bad, because it needed to develop and flower and become a really what it was meant to be, part of a healing modalities. It's not just one thing, but that's for sure the most transformative, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, because it just blows all the doors open. Yeah.
Do you want to share? Yeah. Do you want to share some more of your amazing stories? Ashlea, I love your. I really connect with your stories, because you seem to perceive them we're very similar in our experiences and how we perceive them.
Yeah, thank you. I love telling these stories, and these are kind of like the first time that they're being broadcasted out there. And
we're honored to have them too. We're honored to have you, and we're honored to hear them. And I'm glad we can make you feel comfortable. Like, like the Sasquatcher family. Oh, I'm getting energy now when I said that. Boy, I'm getting hit up like big time. The Sasquatcher family, and we're kind of like, this is kind of like family here
totally.
too. And the fact that, like we can all feel comfortable talking about this stuff without being judged, and it's just a comfortable place. So yeah, go ahead and
Cool.
tell us some more.
Well, this one, this might be one of the biggest kind of experiences I've had to date, which is saying a lot. But it definitely opened up new things that I have not experienced until this time. So, and Kevin and Sandy were with me on this camp out, and this was this past September out in the Gorge on private property. I think it's important to note that this property is very, very big. It is very, very, very big. It is a very big private piece of land that's been in the same family since the mid 1800s. And it has been secluded from everything except for this family. And they've maintained this land. And there's 5 different types of environments on this land. There's these low refuge with creeks, and there's ponds, large ponds, and there's massive fields of grass, and there's tiny mountainy areas, and tons of environment, tons of space, tons of land, tons of animals. It's a no-kill sanctuary for deer, so there's no hunting. And there's a prolific deer population and wild turkey population, and also a couple of cougars who live on the land as well. And everything is incredibly harmonious. So my friends have lived on this land for a good amount of years, and I've had the absolute honor and privilege to go and visit my friends and experience this land, and walk the land, and know the land. There's this old growth oak forest, as well as another type of forest. Like, there's so much going on there. So they knew that Sasquatch lived there. I had, on my previous trips over there, I had some things happen. If you see this feather that's right up here, that actually, we were up in the upper refuge a few years back, maybe even like 5 or 6 years ago, and we were walking on this path, and just we just stopped. We just stopped walking to hang out. There was no rhyme or reason as to why we stopped. But when we did, my friend looked and said, "There's a feather sticking in the ground right behind you." And that's what that feather is. And it was shoved into the ground, and we just so happened to just stand there, and it just so happened to be right behind my foot. So there had been signs in the past that they knew who we were. And my friends who live on the land, they haven't necessarily been conscious in their connection with them. They haven't been consciously trying to reach out to them. They've been doing their thing, and they've been doing their thing, and it's been cool. But it's kind of like there's an evolution between the relationship of everybody on that land now, and they are coming together. And I was finally able to set up a camp out for Kevin and Sandy and I on the land, so that we could connect with the Sasquatch there. And my friend had some really incredible dream times with one of the Sasquatch that lives on the land. And she started reaching out as well. She started leaving glyphs. She started doing her communication. And the relationship started getting stronger and a bond was created. And we got down into this area, and I the last camp out I did, my tent broke. One of the sticks broke on it. So I hadn't replaced it yet, and I decided I was going to do truck camping. I was just going to camp in my truck in the passenger side of my truck and lay the seat down and just curl up with my my sleeping bag. And so that's what I did. Kevin and Sandy had their tent set up, farther in and towards the creek. And there was a central area with a picnic table and our tables and everything, and even a fireplace. You said fireplace earlier, which I think is funny because we actually did have a fireplace out in the forest. So, and then I was parked on like right next to the road. And it was the last night that we had activity. We had definitely heard them splashing at nighttime. We had some stuff go on throughout the camp out, but kind of that last night was definitely the most intense. And something that we did, we had our dinners. My friends came down. They also stayed that night before they were up on at their home on the property, and then they did come down to camp and sleep at night. So we were all hanging around the picnic tables, and some people were on chairs. Some people were sitting at the picnic table. Some people were on the ground. And we started making music, and my friends, they brought some flutes, and everybody had drums, and I had my guitar, and we blasted the forest with like one of the coolest songs ever. It was so good. Like, I was very impressed with myself and my flute skills on this funky dollar store kids flute that just produced the most amazing sounds. And we were rock stars, man. And there seemed to have been an appreciation, because very soon after that, we're sitting there, and one of my friends who lives on the land, he looks up and he's laying on the ground. So he's got this, this direction that he's looking up at. He's like, oh, here they come. Here they come. We've all seen these things before. We've all experienced it. But a massive orb of light came in behind us. So he's looking this way. Kevin's sitting right here. I'm right here. The picnic table's here. Sandy's over here, and my two friends are on the ground right here. And so he's looking up. He's like, oh, here they come. And I look behind, and just on the inside of the trees, because we had a clearing where we were at, and just inside of the first layer of trees outside of this clearing, below tree level, is again a basketball size orb of light. And it is silent, and it is on the move. And I'm like, oh my God, what? And I'm trying to tell Kevin, and he's looking like the opposite direction. He's like, oh yeah, maybe there's something over there. And I'm like, no, it's over here. And I follow it. I'm like kind of stumbling and following it as it moves behind us into the larger clearing where the road is. And when this basketball white ball sized orb of light moves out of the trees and is completely exposed, it, in 3 steps, again, boom, 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 goes down into a red ball and then flies off. So that happened. And we're like, okay, well, again, it's not anything that's unusual for us to experience, even though, again, it's like off the chart stuff, but we've all experienced that before. So it was kind of natural for Kevin and Sandy to be like, all right, we're going to bed. We'll see you later, So they go to bed, and we stay up for maybe like 20 minutes more, and then we head off to bed. So my friends go to their tent and I go to the truck, and it is 9:30. It's 9:30. It's the second night camping. So it was 2 nights and 3 days that I was there. And the first night in the truck, I had, I have window coverings that I placed up in, and it's a Jeep Gladiator, right? So like it's kind of smaller windshield up front, and, Jeep windows on the side, very square. I had these window coverings from my previous vehicle. And so I had them, and they were magnetic, but they didn't fit correctly because it wasn't made for that vehicle. But I had them up, and there were these gaps in between on the sides where it didn't totally fit. So the first night that I was in the truck, I could see the trees. There was ambient light outside. I could tell the difference between inside and outside. I could see the leaves, and it was nice, right? The second night, I go to sleep in the truck, and same setup, same everything. Now it's fully, completely, 100% dark, 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 dark outside the truck, inside the truck. We had the same weather that we did the night before. It wasn't just like it got cloudy or anything. It was the same. And I don't think it was cloudy like either night. But for whatever reason, now I'm inside the truck, and it's like I'm in a float tank. It's that dark. It's just sensory deprivation. And I started going into prayer, as I do. I started praying to God, and I got done with my prayer, and then I opened up a communication to the Sasquatch that were there, and I introduced myself, and I was like, I know that and I was speaking directly to this female that my friend had connection with, and so that's who I was directing this to. And I just told her, I was like, thank you for sharing your space with us. We are here with good intention and with ultimate respect. And if there's anything that you want to teach me, I am here to learn from you. And if there's anything that I can do for you, and it's within my capability, I'd love to do something for you. I'm here with an open heart and with love and pure intention, and I'm saying these things, and then a bunch of stuff started happening. And it started with kind of like some noises outside of the truck. It wasn't anything distinct. I can't say like it was a tree knock or, there was a footstep, but there was definitely something going on the outside. And again, my friends are in their tent over here, and Kevin and Sandy are not far away either. But it's like this whole experience that I had was very compartmentalized. They didn't know that any of this stuff happened until the next day. So I'm in the truck, I'm saying these things, and then I'm starting to feel their presence and start to hear these things outside. And I felt and I think we all have experienced this, when they get really close or they do a walk by of you inside your tent or something, it's like a magnetic field where where they're at, depending on where the energy feels on your body. Or at least that's how I've experienced their closeness and proximity. And I started feeling that on this side, the door side of my body. And I'm like, okay, well, they're here, they're walking beside. And then I got a full body vibration, full. It was in it, and it felt like oil on water. You know how oil on water will kind of swirl and do these swirly patterns? That's what I felt on every single inch of my body, on externally and internally. And I just laid there. And again, it's something that I've experienced before. So I just let it go on. And I said, thank you. Right. And it kept going on. And I looked at my watch. I have this silly little Casio watch in case the phones get messed up and stop working. Right. Like I've got this little Casio watch with a blue background, and I press the button and it's around 9:35 or something like that. And this goes on for a half an hour. Like I am in this fully enveloped vibratory state for like a half an hour. And then I'm there, I'm feeling it, and I'm like, it's so repetitive, and it's been going on for so long that I ask, I'm like, is this how I always feel? Wait a minute. Do I always feel like this? Is this my natural state? How long is this going to go on? I don't know if I have to pee. What if I have to pee? I don't know. I can't go outside the truck. I don't want to disturb them. What am I supposed to do? Is this how it always feels? These thoughts are going through my head. And as soon as that happens, whoosh, all of the vibration literally rushes out the side like that. And I'm laying there, and then it starts in on just my head. And then for another 15 minutes, I get this pure vibrational state, inside, outside, oil slick movement of energy happening on my head. And it happened, it turned on, and it's on for a few minutes, and then it turns off, and then it turns on, and it's on for a few minutes, turns off. And it did that 3 to 4 times. And then again, I was left with this thought of, is it how I always feel? Like, what is going on? And I need to mention too, for the first time in my life, I had a sty in my eye that was being very reluctant in its healing. And I tried different medications, and it wasn't helping. And that thing hurt. It was, I've never had one before. And during this camp out, I did. And so now I have this concentration of vibration and energy all around my head. And then that goes away after about 15 minutes. And I'm in the passenger seat. And it's at this point that I realize that I am stiff as a board. And I'm not even like, it's like, if the seat's like this, I'm like this, right? Just a complete stiff board. And I've been that way for like 45 minutes in that state. And then I was like, oh my God, I can relax. And so I relaxed. And then I am in the passenger front seat of my vehicle, of my truck, feeling all of this, seeing all of this, experiencing all of this. And again, it's pitch black. It's like I'm in a float tank. And there's this gap in between the cover on the window and where the frame of the windshield starts in the driver's side area. And I start to see a light shine in this area. And I look over. I don't move my head. I just move my eyes. And I look over. And because it's so dark, this is very, very prominent. And it is a small 2 to 3 inch naked woman body of a fairy. Wow. And she is right in between the mirror, the side mirror, and the truck. And she's on the outside of the truck. And she's emerald green. She's bioluminescent. She's the deepest, most beautiful green, bioluminescent. The light is coming off of her, this green light, She's not wearing any clothes. I can see her breasts. I can see her hips. She didn't have necessarily hair or wings, but she had a bioluminescent aura that was coming off of her in the shape of flowing hair and in the shape of wings. And she's fluttering in and out and peeking and doing this thing. I'm looking over at her. I'm like, no effing way. No way is this happening to me, that I'm sitting here. I just had all this stuff happen. And now there's a fairy right outside of my door, like looking at me. And
That's
she
cool.
knew when I wasn't moving. I was just moving my eyes. And she knew that when I moved my eyes that I was looking at her, and then she would, she'd do this and she'd come out and she'd peek. And she wasn't, she was fully just like hovering, right? Like she wasn't holding on to anything. Gravity didn't matter to her. She was just fluttering in and out and looking at me and then hiding. And this is going on for minutes, like 3 to 5 minutes. And then a second one appears right above her. And they're like this far apart from each other. And they're like this big. And they're both like fluttering in and looking at me and doing this. And I'm laying there and I'm like, I cannot handle this right now. Like, this is too much. I was like, I need to go to sleep, because I don't know if I have to pee. I don't know if I'm going to stay up all night. I don't know what's happening. I can't leave this truck. I need to go to bed. I need to go to sleep. I was like, thank you, everyone. But I gotta go to bed. So I closed my eyes. And in my mind's eye, my eyes are closed. From either side of my visual spectrum from here, these two ribbons of deep purple start like doing this until they meet in the middle. And they're starting off, and it's like they're going fast and they're moving about this speed. And I see it in my mind's eye, and I open my eyes and I see it in the truck. And I close my eyes and I see it in my mind's eye, and I open my eyes and I see it in the truck. And this wave ribbon of like, this royal purple is doing this. And then it meets in the middle, and I am asleep. And I do not wake up until 6 o'clock in the morning on the dot, when we all wake up. Kevin and Sandy woke up at the exact same moment. And I didn't know that, but I got out of the truck and I went to the bathroom, because I was like, I looked around, I was like, okay, it's light out. Now I can do this. It's not going to be weird on my way over there. Yeah. And then I do my business, and then I'm walking out and I see Kevin and Sandy like at the foot of the truck. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, they're up. And they had had their own experiences that morning. And Kevin, if you want to take off with that.
Yeah, this September, this was a good hour before sunrise. We went on a little hike and came back. As we were coming back, you're starting to see first light. But before that, speaking about the fairies, I swear to God, and I'm not a fairy guy, but sometimes, the path leads you into stuff you don't expect. I swear to God, I heard him that night. I swear to God. Nate and Jana left about 1 o'clock in the morning. I heard their Gator. They have to take the, John Deere Gator to head back. This place is massive. This property is massive. But I heard the Gator fire up at about 1 o'clock. And so, so I couldn't go to sleep. And somewhere between 1 o'clock and I believe it was more like 4:30, Ash, that you got up. I was hearing women's voices. They sounded like petite, mature women, not young women, mature, but they sounded petite, down by the water hole, by the swimming hole.
Wow.
Which is just past the camp area. 100 yards maybe. It wasn't that far. I swear I heard it, and I was awake because I was pissed. I was pissed because I had two recorders set up, one on the uphill side and one overlooking a quarter mile away, and one between a quarter and a half mile away on the other side. And I didn't have anything close in camp. But so that was another reason why I was up and alert. Is like, damn it, Kevin, why couldn't you keep it, the recorder close in camp? But at the same time, I'm hearing this happy chatter, and it just sounded like you're talking about family. It sounded like maybe a family group or a very close knit group of four individuals that were down by the waterhole, just chatting and having fun. And it was just a happy environment, almost a happy visit that they were having. And it was like, I can't believe it's not, now this is by the creek. It was September, creek was low. It was making noise, but it wasn't loud. But you can differentiate between the water sound, the babbling brook sound, and these chatting women. And it was a language. It wasn't English. And I only know English, but I know a certain amount of Spanish. It wasn't any language that I know or could recognize, but you could definitely tell it was a language. There was repeatable words that were being used, even though I don't know what they meant. And it was like, no, these aren't fairies. But all I could think of is, well, what else? That's got to be it. There's nothing else. So that kind of correlates with your sighting.
Wow.
And at the same time, I won't go into it, but I have heard of a eyewitness account of a guy that saw the little bioluminescent. He looked like a Sasquatch. 3 o'clock in the morning, in his rearview mirror, he was sleeping in his truck, in his Jeep Liberty, and it was doing the paddy walk thing. He said he was, and he doesn't drink. He doesn't. All he smokes is tobacco, and he was up eating popcorn and Coke at 3 o'clock in the morning, because that's what he does. That's his thing when he's squatching. And he said he kept looking in the rearview mirror, and he kept seeing this little green Sasquatch guy in his multiple times. And that description is very similar to what you were just talking about. So there was that. And then the last thing, the reason why Sandy and I got up is because we heard yelling. And in the Northwest, Washington, Oregon, logging is restricted in summer to, they call them hoot owl hours, where you have to stop your work at 10 a.m. to prevent sparks and wildfires. So it's not uncommon for logging crews to start up their operations at 4 o'clock, is that right? 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And so that means they got to drive for hours up these logging roads to get to their operation. And we heard that operation, but an hour before we heard that operation, we heard the trucks driving in. I mean, we're talking a good 2 miles away. But at the same time, you heard this calling that would come, you were calling almost like a warning. And we've heard this before. I've got it recorded, in fact, where you'll hear stick knocks or calling prior to somebody entering an area. I heard that 2 nights in a row, where you would hear the calling, and then after the calling, you start hearing the trucks, and then after the trucks, this is of course an hour and a half. After the trucks, you start hearing the saws going and the big caterpillars running. So I think that's what woke us up, Ashley, is the calling. And then as we did our walk up the hill, then we started hearing the heavy machinery at that point, and it was very distant. It was all very faint, but it was not just a man-made thing. There was some kind of calling going on prior to the start of the day, the work day.
Yeah. It was such an incredible trip. And this is really funny too. On that last day, that morning after we got done, waking up or whatever, my friends came back down, and then we took a tour of the whole land. and just drove out to different areas and walked different areas. And we were up on the upper refuge of the land. And this has like a pretty large grass field in it. And then, this oak forest that, starts at a definite area and then continues out, and another part of a forest that has a definite tree line and where it starts and stops. And so we all just kind of casually stopped and were in conversation. And my friend who lives there, she said, yeah, I'm working on my distrust for humanity. That's what she said. Yeah, I'm working on my distrust for humanity. The second that she was done saying that, there was the loudest wood knock coming from the forest. We all just stood there like, yeah, I guess you agree with that. I guess we're all working on our distrust for humanity.
We're all kind of working on that, aren't we? The group project.
Yeah, I guess they are too. But it was so immediate, and we were in just a quiet, personal conversation between people standing together in a group. We weren't being loud. And, the distance of wherever that stick break came from was definitely farther than, what a normal person would be able to hear our conversation. But yeah, the moment that was said, there was an instant agreement from the forest.
Yeah. Yeah. Funny.
So
we're working on it too.
I don't think I think you were taken to another reality.
I don't know what happened, man.
When you were in your truck and you couldn't see out and everything was dark and then all this stuff was happening to you. To me, that's the symptoms of another reality. Because then after it was finished, you could look out again and saw the fairies. So there was something going on there.
I've never thought about that, and now you're making my head spin. So
No, that's awesome. That's an awesome story. That's a healing too, though. That's like a spiritual healing, not just physical. But there's a lot of similarities and parallels to some experiences I've had in that. Like when you said that you close your eyes and you'd see it, then you'd open your eyes and you'd see it as well. I've absolutely experienced that the night I met my teacher. Everything that was happening inside my tent at that time was happening if I closed my eyes, I could see it perfectly. If I opened my eyes, it was happening exactly the same way. It was so surreal and awesome. Yeah. No, that's
awesome.
That's an awesome story. Yeah.
Tell us more.
No, this is your show.
I did want to, I don't know if it means anything, but as far as the geographical location of this area, Mount Adams has quite a history on supernatural events, eyewitness accounts and such. Across the Columbia is Mount Hood, which also has quite a storied history on supernatural events.
And UFOs, both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
And when we were up on that grassy area that Ash was just talking about, you could see the mountains, from one side to the other. I mean, it was just this beautiful promontory. And so after that whole camp out, I took a look on the map and drew a line between the summit of Adams and the summit of Hood, and we're right on that line. I'm serious. Now, does that mean anything? Is it geographically important? I'm just saying.
That's awesome. Yeah. I've anyone who's experienced Mount Adams probably has more crazy tales to tell than you can shake a stick at. I've personally seen a door of light open up on that south side of the mountain and had light ships moving in and out of it. I've seen,
Wow.
I was given an opportunity to really study that mountain for 5 years, and I looked at it a lot. I just sat and looked at that mountain a lot during the day and during the night. And there is stuff going on that mountain that you cannot explain. You cannot explain. And there's a reason, I am sure, that when you try to look at that mountain on Google Maps, that certain areas where all of this activity is going on is blurred. So there's and the Yakima know as well, and they've worked tirelessly keeping that place as sacred as possible, and not allowing for ski resorts to be built and for an influx of people to occur on that mountain. They know the sacred nature of it. What is the sacred nature of all mountains? What is a mountain? You know, like, actually, if we look at what it's made out of, it's just a big piece of organite, and that's a big piece of organite, right? So what type of portal aspects, energetic aspects are happening on mountains? But the correlation between activity, UFO activity, Sasquatch activity, and mountains is, you know, they go hand in hand.
Yeah. You know what I find, you know what I find funny? And this is not a criticism, but it's something I can't understand. Is I've got a friend, Laurel, who attends my campouts or whatever, and she's had the same kind of experiences where closing her eyes and something's happening and opening the same thing, and all this incredible stuff going on and whatever. And she says, "Leave me alone. I want to go to sleep." If that's happening to me, I'm never going to say I want to go to sleep. I want to experience it. But I just find that funny.
I know.
You'd be surprised.
I don't
done
know.
that. I've done it.
Really?
Yep.
I wouldn't do it. I just be saying, "Hey, man."
It's almost like you can't help it. It's almost like you can't help it. I mean, I don't know how to describe it otherwise.
Oh, unless they want you to go to sleep or something. Like, it did sound like that was what was happening in Ashlea's story. Like they wanted you to, but
I think that they absolutely put me to sleep, because there's
Sure.
I don't go to sleep easily. It takes me a while. So for me to just immediately snap into a sleep state, there's help going on with that. But like when we tell our tales, it's hilarious. I've definitely notated this, right? Like, people will have the most phenomenal experiences ever, like inside their tent with activity outside or whatever, when they're in a position to be asleep, right? And they'll fall asleep just right afterwards, after this incredible, crazy experience that anyone kind of who isn't putting themselves into these positions to have these experiences, if it happened to them, they would, and that's the reaction that you get from someone when you tell this, right? Like, it's like, well, why didn't you stay up? Why didn't you look out the window? Why didn't you go outside? It's like, you don't know, man. And like, it doesn't work that way. Plus, like, however they are energetically in control of the situation, and they will put you to sleep if they need to. If they feel like that's part of a positive part of the experience, then they're going to do that.
I understand that part, and that makes perfect sense. But I don't think I would consciously, without those other elements going on, say, "Oh, geez,
oh, right.
leave me alone. I want to go to bed." You know,
it was for me, and for that moment, it was so intense, and it was like 45 minutes nonstop of a barrage of energy that, like, it wasn't too much, but at the same time, like, we're only human, like we're human, and that means so much, and our potential is so out there, but we're also babies at this, and we aren't at our full potential, and our bodies do react in fight or flight manner, and we do have to, like, recalibrate and try to make sense of experiences that are happening to us that go outside of the realm of everything, and are such experiences that, like, they break down paradigms, they shift realities, they can break the mental constructs that we so carefully build, and that are so carefully built for us as well. And it's a process. It is an absolute process. And I would love to get to the point where I'm in the middle of this most amazing, incredible experience that, you know, doesn't happen to everyone. And I'm very blessed to have it. And I can't wait to get to the experience or get to the point where I can walk out of that tent, you know, but it's baby steps, and I know I'll get there. I know, like, it's funny that I've had some like off the chart experiences, but I haven't had a face to face yet. Right? Not consciously, physically. I've definitely had, like Sandy talked about, having the faces come in and you seeing the face in your mind's eye. That's happened plenty of times. That's a thing, right?
I've heard that from 3 or 4 different people.
Yeah.
The exact same thing.
And
The
that's
faces come in and out, and it's like they're introducing themselves.
They're introducing themselves, and they're doing so in a way that you aren't going to physically just lose your shit, you know, because
Right.
most people get into that state, whether you want to or not, or if you tell yourself for 1,000 years, I'm ready for it. You're not ready for it until you are ready for it. And they know that, and they're not going to do something that is going to damage you.
Yeah. Sue's had that happen to her. And 2 people at my camp out had that happen to her, the identical thing. So it's pretty cool. And you know what you were saying about why didn't you leave your tent or whatever? I think that's pretty common. Like most people, when I've heard of these kind of experiences, a lot of people say, why didn't I leave my tent, or why didn't I go outside and look? But for some reason, it's like you just can't seem to do it. Like you're being held in place.
Deep down inside, you know you're not ready for whatever you could encounter. I've had that happen before. I'm embarrassed to say it because I'm so curious. I mean, I'm spending so much time and energy and, you know, a weekend away from an air-conditioned house to go in an uncomfortable bug-infested forest. But sometimes I feel, and I've done it before, I've gone out, but sometimes it's like, I'm not ready for this. So
that's okay. Like, don't be embarrassed to say that. Like, you know, this is an absolute learning process for all of us. And what we have, what the book that we have been given, that's a lot to go through, right? Like, the experience is connected with that. Like, it takes a long time to be a scholar in this particular subject and a lot of experience in it, and that timing is absolutely divine, and it's for our betterment. Like, again, like we're not going to get overloaded, even though in the moment it can seem like you're totally overloaded.
Kevin, what was the somebody talking? Oh
yeah,
Sandy.
I was going to share a thought, Brian, really quick. Sometimes that we're caught up in the experience in the tent, and if we move or get up, or our pattern of what they know is safe to go out and take a look, then the experience stops. And so sometimes we just want to have the experience and maybe not the visual,
or enhance. Maybe you don't want to enhance the experience.
Well, I don't know.
Or you might blow it. Does a zipper stop everything? That's a risk you take, and so you got to do a risk assessment right there as you're waking up.
Yeah, so sometimes the experience is better than the eyes-on sighting, right? So if you
definitely
have it, so you want, that's their space out there. Our space is in the tent at night. They know that we're in there. They know that we're sleeping. They know we can't see them. But as soon as you move, you stop snoring, you get up, then you go. There's the risk of, there goes your encounter, your experience. So
I think it's respecting boundaries too, or whatever too. Like you're having that experience, and going outside and investigating is kind of like not diminishing, but kind of like disrespecting the experience, I guess. In a way, it kind of feels that way to me.
It's superficial, kind of, in a way. Because and also it depends on like your energy and your wavelength of, like, your brain wavelength of where you're at the point where these things happen to you. And if you're in your tent and you're relaxed and you're in a relaxed state, you know, and you've got the right heart coherence, brain coherence, and everything's in a flow. And if you come into like a physical reaction, it's going to take you right out of that. Because I've been in situations before where I'm totally aware of their energy in a physical state, like when I'm out in the open and I'm like waiting for them to come in closer. And I had one experience in particular where one of them, I was with my friend Jason. We were on the trail, and one of them walked down a hill, like right. I mean, it was pitch black. We couldn't see anything. We didn't have our flashlights on. And this one walked right down the hill. We could hear him like through the leaves. He walked right out in front of us on the trail, and couldn't see him. And we were both like tight, tense, you know, and I could hear my heart beating in my ears. And he just stood there for a minute, and then he just kept walking. And even though I was ready for that, just them being right there, you're just like, ooh, you know, it's just so much physically for us.
Yeah.
And I think that if that happened in those moments, it would just take us right out of it.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
mind, your brain is always protecting you, right? And
Right.
it has all of these different ways in which it does that. And you know, if we get hit with because these things can be categorized as a traumatic event because of the way it will make us physically and emotionally react. And if this traumatic event of these epic proportions happen, and it gets to the point where like our brain will disassociate us from the experience to keep us safe because it's so out of alignment with like our reality that we know of.
Right.
You know, those things are happening. Like your brain is working to do everything that it can to be totally present in the moments of these like just off the charts experiences. So it's such a balancing act. Like it's so much is going on in these experiences and in these encounters.
Yeah.
So
That just your story just reminded me of, you know, we've all had so many experiences, and some of them we kind of forget, you know, because they all kind of blend together. But I remember one time walking down a path with my friend Randy Brisson, and we felt one walk right between us. Like we felt the energy, and it was a kind of a knowing and whatever. And it was like, whoa, that was kind of like, what was that? It's just weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And also one time I remember feeling one energy crackling right outside of my right ear. One was standing right beside me, and I could hear the energy crackling and feel it. So just bizarre, beautiful. Well, I don't like to say bizarre because that kind of connotates something bad, but just beautiful experiences. So Kevin, I wanted to ask you and Ashley and anybody who wanted to chime in on this, because I know at one point, Kevin, you were more of I'm not going to say a neighbor, but you were more, you didn't have your eyes wide open when you first went into this, as far as, you know, their supernatural abilities or whatever. I think I'm correct in that. Is that right?
I've always been quite open, not knowing what I'm getting into, but I'm just going to I've always been just let the experiences lead the way.
Yeah, but you're very practical. You're very practical and scientific in your thinking, or whatever.
So, yeah.
So I was just wondering, and maybe Ashley, I don't know what her experience was, because it could be different. But what was the moment for you when you said, okay, there's really something else going on here. These are way more than what they think they are, and they have way more abilities. And when the magic kicked in for you, when did that happen, or was it just a gradual thing?
Well, for me, it's been gradual. I mean, when I saw my first eye shine, I mean, I'd seen individuals before, but it was like, you know, a slow, you know, increase, something that I could manage. But when when Sandy and I had a conversation with Click,
right,
the Sam, I'd have to, it's a long story, but we had a 2-hour conversation with something outside the tent that we could actually form a communication with. And it was that whole gradual learning curve just spiked when that happened. And I had to have that. I guess that was the big change for me, as far as I need to stop everything, reevaluate my worldview, reevaluate my spirituality, reevaluate everything. And it was, I kind of, that took my full focus for a while. You know, it wasn't Sasquatch anymore. It's like, there's way more to this world than my little pea brain knows. And I started researching and researching and researching. I'm still researching. I'm still a student at all of this, but there was a definite defining moment for me as far as when I realized this is not just forest people. This is just not supernatural forest people. There is something way, way, way more going on. And I don't know if it's not that I can't handle it. I don't have time, you know, as far as talking about the 4 mature, giddy young women there in Oregon, you know, the fairy people. It's like, that's great. That's awesome. You know, I'm accepting, but I don't have time for that. I'm still working on it. I'm still working on forest people. And maybe it's all the same thing. I don't know.
Your conversation with your
I wanted to sorry, I wanted to jump in.
Just can I say one quick thing real quick? Your conversation with Click, was it telepathic or audible?
No, it was audible.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, to the
But it
point
could
where
have
somebody complained afterwards, well, you had your phone right there. Why didn't you turn it on? 2.5 hours, it never dawned on me to turn the phone on.
exactly. When I had my first, when I heard my first talking back and forth, I just stood there like, and then the next day I said, why didn't I turn my camera on?
Yeah.
It's just, it's so magical and so surreal in the moment that you just don't even think about it.
No.
But
Anyway,
it was also very real. Sandy was there and she witnessed the whole thing. She was part of the whole thing. So it's not mind playing tricks on you. I mean, it's a validation, of course. Yeah.
Sorry for interrupting you, Beans. What were you going to say?
I wanted to talk about the fear of being around the Sasquatch people, the fear of camping, and then the trauma that people have that get caught off guard, and their whole reality has to shift. And there's a lot of fear involved with that. One of the things that I teach, and one of the things I would recommend, is to fight with Sasquatch in your imagination. Use your imagination and shadow box. So there's this, because it's all actually in our imagination. We have this fear response, and the fear response is because we're thinking, what does this mean? What's going on? And all this kind of stuff. But just go in your own house and just imagine your Sasquatch coming and you fight them. And you can be as big as you want. You can have any kind of weapon. And you just tell them, I want to get over my fear of Sasquatch. I want to get over whatever, or any fear that I got of anything, of my dad or my bullies, and just fight, you know. And then you fight and fight until eventually, and you always win in your imagination, where you're shadowboxing, using your body, yelling and screaming. You'll win. And then you win as many times as you need. And then after that, you can play hide and seek or play tag with a Sasquatch in your imagination. This puts it all this, it kind of breaks the tension of all this stuff of trying to hold your reality together. And it gives you a feeling of victory, because you win this each time. Or even if you don't win, you get up until you do win. It's just purely imaginational, but it is profound. The after effect is profound, because there's when kids fight on the playground, and then they become friends. It's that kind of thing. And the Sasquatch know exactly what you're doing, and you get rid of a lot of trauma that way, and a lot of fear. People walking around in fear. Stress is a fear response. So I just thought I'd put that out there, because it's a huge deal in the rest of the Sasquatch community that they carry their fear around, and I got to have a gun, and I got to have this and that. Not when you don't have fear coming inside you from the past, or from your imagination of what could happen or what might happen.
I do know one thing for sure, that they don't work with you or take you beyond your fear barrier.
Yeah.
So there's something to that.
They'll push you to the edge of it. I've had that lots of times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but
Absolutely.
that can take, for some people who aren't friends with the Sasquatch people, some people that can take years. Like their whole life is gone. I'm not going to go hunting anymore. I'm not going to go camping anymore. Right. Those people need to go out and just in their own house or in someplace safe and just fight fight it out, and then that just breaks all the resistance and anxiety.
I do also think that they will give you tests of metal. I've had a few of those, like early on, where they'll see how you react to something.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
They're doing that to test your fear factor.
Yeah.
And to
Oh,
build the muscle, right? To
Yeah.
build that muscle,
muscle
it's
of
just a
victory,
little bit of a time.
The muscle
Yeah.
of victory, the muscle of sovereignty. You're
Yeah.
master of your own energy.
Yeah. So, Ashley, did you want to get back to pictures, or what do you want to do?
We're running kind of long on the time. Did you want to take a
Yeah,
break?
how about-
You want to go on for another 3 hours or something?
No, we're not going to go on for another 3 hours. How long do you want to go on for, Ashley? Another 20 minutes or something, or
Yeah, let's do another 20 minutes. So if you want to jump back into photos, we can do that and just kind of zip around there and tell some quick stories.
Okay.
I will say this about the fear factor in this, and something that other people have experienced, and now it's something that I have experienced as well, is that there is a point, at least for me, where the fear was taken out of me. And like on the first bar camp out, that July of 2018 or June of 2018, I did really, really well walking by myself, right? And then and the fear wasn't necessarily there, but I think there was also a naiveness, I was naive to just how incredible an experience could be in that area, right? Doop-dee-doo-doo-doo, I'm just going to go back to my tent. Well, I had that really big experience, and then in the campouts, the later campouts after that, a fear kind of almost started building in me, because I kept on being introduced to what they could do and what they were capable of. And then that kind of like crescendoed up and then dropped. And I would say it was only like maybe 2 years ago or so where that fear isn't in there anymore. Because I would ask at campouts for someone to walk with me to the potty tent at night, because it's a thing to go by yourself in the camp out, and just this small distance of you going to the potty tent that's right down the way, a lot can happen. So it's not uncommon for people to pair up and go to the bathroom together, and have someone out there as a watch and a lookout, because you'll get stuff thrown at your tent or the potty tent when you're inside. But yeah, there was a moment, and there wasn't like a specific thing that happened, but it was more of me going, oh, wait a minute, look at me, I'm doing all this stuff by myself now. Oh, wait, I don't have that anxiety connected to the darkness and the lack of light from my little tiny flashlight. Like I don't have that. I can walk around freely, and I know that I'm safe. And so yeah, that's just an interesting thing that I've gone through in this, was that like
do the work, you're going to get results.
Yeah.
I have a confession to make. A couple times I threw some stuff at people when they were in the outhouse, just to freak them out.
Shame on you.
Well, I'm a little bit mischievous, in case you didn't notice, Sandy.
Well, I was going to say, be aware of your surroundings always, because there's more than just Sasquatch out there. And so when you're in cougar country, and we are, and bear country, and we are, you need to be aware of that walking around in the dark. They are too. And so, if you have Brian out there throwing stuff at your potty tent, that's one thing. But just be aware of your surroundings, and be careful what you ask for. Your intention is everything in the forest. If you are putting out intentions into the universe will answer you.
Like fear.
So, and that's true. So you just have to be very aware of what you're asking for. And I think in doing so, it helps you prepare for that event or that experience. So fear's real. It does happen.
And
Mhm.
But you
it
have to
serves
figure
a
out how to get
it
through
serves a purpose too, right? In our little human lives and how we
Yeah.
have to move through here. It's part of
Mhm.
our system and it's there for a reason. And we just
part of
have to
love.
like remember
part
how to
Mhm.
use that tool correctly and not let that tool use us.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, here we
Uh,
are, back to the pictures.
I'm gonna step out. I'm gonna step out before you guys can start on the pictures. but-
Okay. Bye,
Okay.
Stan.
all right.
Thanks,
This
Sam.
has been
Bye.
Thanks for
awesome.
coming.
You guys,
See you at
you
the
guys are
campfire.
awesome. All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
So
Okay, so what do we have here?
I think this might have been, the impression that I saw inside of the garden bed that was connected to the glyph. But if you want to just
Whoa.
we can go through. Here's another one of the prints from the lake bed and the September 2018. That's tiny,
I think you're going to say that was your garden.
Oh,
And I
no,
go,
no, no.
I wouldn't even be
Oh, that-
mad if you cracked my onions.
That's what I thought. I thought those pictures were connected. Yeah, but so what was the thing about the garden then? There was a track in here.
Well, I think that's so weird. I actually, you know what you're doing? I think you are picking up pictures that I sent to you years back when that glyph showed up, because I was like, hey, look at this glyph, and then I saw this in the garden box, because I didn't choose these and send them to you for this talk. So
Are
I
you
think
sure?
yeah, they were.
Well, I got him. I got him in the same group of pictures.
That's weird.
I wouldn't have gone back and retrieved stuff from years ago.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Oh, well.
Well, we can move on from this.
Maybe the cat wanted to be seen.
Here's some more
Oh.
tracks.
Yeah, more tracks.
More tracks. Oh, here's a handprint, isn't it? Or is that a track?
That is a
No.
track.
Handprint.
So look at that mid-tarsal break.
Yeah. I was going to say that's castable right there. That might be the one we casted even.
I think so. I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. I wasn't seeing this part down here. Okay, I was just looking here.
Yeah,
This
that's
is the bottom of
mid
it, but
part.
no, I see this here now. Yeah, okay, yeah. That's very cool.
So
More
So it-
pictures.
so
more
dig
tracks.
this. No, go back
Oh.
to the other one. Okay, so you have these two, and then there's this little tiny baby one in the middle. So it was like there was someone standing with a baby in front of them.
Yeah. There.
Yeah, I remember seeing a trackway where we could see that the
Oh,
mother
cool.
was, we could see the little baby tracks, but only at certain points. But we could see the adult or the watch or the babysitter tracks because we could see what we figured out was that the bigger individual was carrying the little one and just putting him down or her down at certain points, and you see a few steps and then picking them up again.
That's almost.
And
that's almost
and
what
those
this looks
ones,
like.
those ones were like what 3 or 4 inches long. They were like a little.
Yeah, look at how
little baby.
big the key fob is next to that baby foot. It's so tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
that's what it looks like. What you just said, Brian. It looks like somebody stood there and just set him down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And look at the weight.
Oh, sorry,
Like,
sorry.
There's so much weight happening on that.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mhm.
Have you ever had tracks left that you figured they just left just for you, like one single track in like an area where it defies logic that there can only be one track, like a sandy area or mud or something? That's
Yeah.
happened to me a lot, and I think that's just like well, they can do that, but it's just personal for you, you know.
Yeah, totally.
They're all gifts. Anything they leave is a gift because they don't have to leave anything.
And other thing I've experienced with tracks sometimes, one of my experiences with me is because I'm into the glyphs and whatever, is that I'll get a track and then there'll be a really cool glyph like right directly beside it, and that's happened lots of times. Yeah.
Kevin, Sandy, does this look like a 6-toe?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah,
It looks
does.
like there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
I'll give you
it
that.
does.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
this is in that same area, I think, where you guys get skinny foot and 6 toes.
And the thing is, that wasn't a skinny foot. That was kind of a fatty
Mhm.
with the toes. So again, I'm thinking it's a family trait. you could have, not everybody has them, but 2 out of 4 kids in the siblings could have it.
There's also evidently a 4-toed individual out there. So gotta keep our eyes out for that.
I don't know what to make of this, but when I was out with Randy Brisson in the early days, we would always put our hands up to show the Sasquatch, because apparently if you had 6 toes or 6 fingers, you weren't good or whatever. That could just be Indian legend or something. But we would stand there and we'd put our hands up to show that we had 5 fingers.
Like a gang sign, like flashing a gang sign.
No, like we're like of the light, or we're good or whatever. We're not like the bad ones or something like that.
If you look I do a lot of research on giants and giant people, and it is talked about a lot that the human giants had 6 fingers, 6 toes, and that they were also like, giants in the forests that had these anomalies that were cannibals, or
Right.
the native stories of these other giants. So there could have been a true war, or some sort of clash between the Sasquatch and these 6-fingered human type giants.
Yeah. Well, it is something in the Indian tradition with the 6 toes that is not good. But what?
So
This is the P thing, right?
Yeah,
that's the P thing. But really, you guys, on the 6-toed, there is it's called polydactyl. There is 1 in 1,000 humans are born with a 6th appendage, and it's usually removed at birth because, number 1, you don't want that deformity, and number 2, our shoes are made for 5 toes. So humans are born with that extra appendage. So you have to look at the circumstances and everything else that goes with all of these prints.
Yeah. Well, sometimes.
What a nice tent. Look at that blue tent.
Say that you could have that, Beans, if you went camping. We could set you up in that. We could set you up in that if you come camping with us.
It looks big enough for a garage for that car.
The car looks so small.
If we're going to stop in like 10 or 15 minutes, then we should maybe just talk and at the end. Or are there any other pictures you really want to get to?
Well, if you go back one, there's the handprint that we unfortunately weren't able to cast, but we did get the photos of it, and that was right next to the butt print. And this looks very, very deliberate, very, very deliberately left for us to find and to see. So it's just, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And that next picture that you saw with that strange metal tube, this was my tent in that September 2018 camp out. And the second night, or the second day, I woke up and this was laying in the path, and it was not there the day before. I definitely had some very intense Sasquatch activity around my tent that night. There were sticks that were kind of brought in around my tent and kind of placed in kind of like a yard boundary type of formation. And then this was here. And upon closer inspection to this, which had been buried in the ground for who knows how long, it was rusted. It had dirt impacted on the inside. It was obviously run over at some point, or maybe stepped on by one of them. But upon closer inspection, this is an exhaust pipe from a large tractor type of piece of machinery that predates 1950, because they were hand welded, and that doesn't happen anymore. From what Chris was saying, Chris Connor was at this camp out, and he's like, we can definitely do a dating on this, because they don't make them like this anymore, and they stopped making them like this a long time ago. So this was sitting in the forest for decades, and then it popped up right outside of my tent the first
Very
night.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I still have it.
here's that orb blown up.
Yeah, here's that orb blown up. So you can see that it's a diamond shape. And when you really look at that video closely, it is a spinning diamond. And then when we saw it with our own eyes, it was a round orb. And when I looked through the night vision, it was a round orb. But and this is a great example of how, like, you know, the technology will pick up things that we don't pick up, and that our biology doesn't pick up. And the recordings, we won't hear anything in camp, but the recordings will pick up stick breaks and you know, mouth pops, and maybe someone heard a growl over here, but then it gets recorded as a stick break. So
Yeah.
it's just, you know, I don't know, but it's
Yeah, we're back to
noteworthy.
the beginning.
Okay, cool.
So we had a couple questions in group. Maybe, and one of the questions was actually pretty good, and it could be one of the ways that we can kind of ease out of the show here. And I know you talked about healing as far as you know, the drinking thing or whatever.
Yeah.
But maybe you want to elaborate on more aspects of that. Renee Busick asked, so how did they heal you? Is there any more that you want to talk about? I mean, they must have healed you, you know, in different ways, emotionally, and then opening your eyes, and, you know, stuff like that. Do you want to talk on that?
For sure. Thank you for the question. It's so important. And it's one of, I think, the most important aspects of this connection that all humans are having with all Sasquatch. And we need it. Right. The healing is coming because we are in desperate need of healing on personal levels. And it matters so much because it exponentially helps this realm and our families and ourselves and our communities. When we focus and we do the shadow work and we look at the reasons why we have the fear and we have the anxiety and we have the anger, and just hold space for those areas of ourselves and release and let go. So, you know, I'm not going to say that the traumas in my life have been more or less than anyone else's, but they are my personal traumas and experiences through life that I get to learn from and ultimately heal from. And they know, when I step into the forest, they know everything about me. They know everything about me. They know my entire history. They know my entire internal environment and what that looks like on the emotional level and the mental level.
And they know your future too.
And they know my future too. And absolutely. So I, you know, starting with kind of just, you know, one of the biggest ways that I could be given help in the capacity of giving me back my sobriety and opening up the door to like a clarity that I haven't experienced since I was 15 years old, you know, and then being able to do so in an environment and with individuals who can exponentially promote my own personal healing. Because again, like, it's not necessarily like they're coming over and waving a magical wand and then all of a sudden we're all great. Absolutely not. That is not how it works. But if you are willing to do the work on yourself, then they are willing to help you out, and their help gets to be like, you know, 1,000 times more than what you could do on your own. So the emotional healing that has come, like I said, when I walked into that structure just, you know, not that long ago, and sat there and felt that release and the rush of just all that stuff that I had been holding in my heart. And it was okay to hold on to it. It was okay to be sad, and it's okay to go through the process. But they definitely like kickstarted me into a different direction of releasing the pain that I was holding on to. And the healing won't ever stop, because the traumas will always come in one form or another throughout your entire life. And the ebb and flow tennis tennis game of having it come in, and then you know, integrating it into your life and releasing it back out. And they are helping facilitate that, but at the same time, it's our personal responsibility to really focus on our healing. And it's, you know, nobody, we aren't in an environment that promotes healing. We're in an environment and a society that promotes shoving every single thing down into the basement parts of yourself and not dealing with it, and covering it up with addictions and treating your family like crap, and doing all these terrible things to each other. Like, that's the promoted way of handling things. And it's definitely not the way that you get things done. And luckily, you know, if you are there having an experience with the Sasquatch, they're into promoting the self-healing and not kind of what all this other societal garbage tells us to do. So it's great, you know, thank you. Amazing. Like, I fully appreciate it and humbled by it, and know that now I have an obligation not only to myself, but to my family and everything, to live up to the honor of being a healed person, or on the journey of being healed, right? Like, I'm not 100%, but like, if I integrate these lessons and integrate these ways in which I can better myself and be a better person in this world, like, it's an obligation. Like, we know that it's important. So it's important to take action.
Absolutely. Well said. Is there anything else that is on your heart that you wanted to, or something you wanted to say in closing to everybody? Or
I just want to say thank you. I have an incredible amount of gratitude, not only for, you know, the connections that we get to experience as friends who have been brought together in the connection with the Sasquatch, but, you know, everybody out there that is tuning in, everyone that you get to bring together and to join in on this conversation, because it matters. It has value. It has it has value, and it creates more conversation and conversation that goes in the direction that it needs to go into. Because if you are really into Sasquatch, you know that they aren't animals running amok and only flesh and blood, and they are, you know, presented in these monstrous ways from the aspects of society that want to keep you as far away from who they truly are. And so here you are, standing up against all of that with truth. And we are all standing up together in a chorus of truth. And that has value. So I just want to say thank you for including me in on this incredible journey.
Thank you for being a great voice for the being friends and family of the forest people. We need that. The forest people need it, but the humans need to know that there are non-human intelligent beings that are willing to be friends and mentors and family with us.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Everything you said resonated with me, and is from my personal experience too. It was all resonated as truth, and you really get it. And you're very fortunate and blessed to have a relationship with the Sasquatch like that. It's and there goes RE. He just hit me up with a big confirmation.
Yay.
Deal.
Thank you. And so much love for you and Susan and Ari and all of your family and clan out there. Michael, Kevin, Sandy, I love you guys. Let's do it again soon.
And let's not just talk about it. Actually get out here and visit sometime. You know, actually, let's make the effort and get together, and we'll do a camp out in BC here too.
Yep.
So, and can we expect you to come back on? Because I know that you have a lot more stories to share. Can we get you back on?
Yes.
Sometime?
Yes.
See, you're no longer a talk show virgin.
Make it a marathon. Just have her on every day, every time for the rest of
Tomorrow.
Why don't we just keep this podcast going, and then when you wake up, come on back on and say some stuff. And
there you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah. Let's get in the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest
There
Sasquatch
we go.
conversation ever.
There you go.
okay.
Awesome.
Anyway,
All right.
thanks everybody. Thanks Kevin and Sandy for
All
showing
right.
up too. And
Great podcast.
and Sam.
I
And
am so beautiful to me. Can't you see? I'm everything I ask for. I'm everything I need. I am so beautiful to me.
Hey.
All right. We'll see you guys. Great
All
show.
right.
Bye.
So
Bye
on
now.
behalf of Port Cunningham and the world's handsomest man, this has been the Pork and Bean Show, and thanks everybody for showing up. Thank you, Ashlea Stinnett. Thank you, Kevin and Sandy Nelson, Kearney, Admiral Nelson's granddaughter. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And thank you especially to the Sasquatch who always are on these shows. They're always here when we have these shows. And so we thank you. Oh boy.
Oh, yeah. If you watch the Pork and Bean Show, expect to have the Sasquatch say hello to you.
RE just said you're welcome or whatever. I mean, it just hit me up big time. So anyway, really, we can't do it without we can't do it without them. So
Oh no, that's about
thank you so much. Okay,
Awesome.
guys. Thanks everybody for watching too, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.